Incineration is extremely unpopular. Over 300 incinerator proposals defeated since 1985 in the United States. They haven't built a new one in 1995. We can't afford them. The modern incinerator is attempting to perfect a bad idea. Our task in the 21st century is not to find better ways to destroy discarded materials. Our task is to stop making packaging and products that have to be destroyed. There is a better alternative. The waste problem will not be solved with magic machines, with better technology, but with better organization, better education, better industrial design. And that brings me to the zero waste strategy, which puts those methods in the center. Incidentally, what is zero waste? I'll tell you where this comes from in a moment. Zero waste recognizes that waste is not inevitable. Discarded materials are potentially valuable resources, goes beyond end-of-pipe strategies, maximizes recycling and composting, reduces consumption, designs waste out of the system. Now, where does that come from? It comes from the City of Los Angeles Waste Department. Envision, they say, envisage a world without waste. This is Los Angeles. A little bit more complicated than Coventry, I might tell you. Zero waste is a new direction. We've got to move from the back end of waste management into the front end of industrial design. To achieve zero waste, we need industrial responsibility at the front end, where these packages and products are made, community responsibility at the back end, and we know that we can do this, as Keith has pointed out. England is doing pretty well right now in certain communities. And we need good political leadership to bring these two together. Now, zero waste can be approached with a series of simple steps, which are practical, cost-effective, and politically acceptable. And every single thing that I'm going to tell you right now is going on somewhere in the world. In California, Canada, Australia, or Italy, or England. So it's all happening except one thing, and you might wonder if this one last thing would be a better investment of public money than building an incinerator. But I'll get to that in a moment. The summary of the steps towards zero waste. It begins with source separation. These are the magic machines right here. Then door-to-door collection, and this is happening now. I mean, we were pushing this in 1985. They caught up with us 20 years later. In San Francisco, they had the fantastic three. I saw this system in Germany, Heidelberg, in 1986. When I told the Department of Environment in England about these German systems, they said to me, well, the Germans had ways of making people do things that we don't do over here. So for this, we need after that composting, we need recycling. Clearly, the number one objective of any city in the world is to get the organics, get them early, get them clean, get them out of the city so that they can be composted in the rural areas, get those nutrients back into the soil. We're talking about sustainability, we've got to get those nutrients back into the soil. And then as far as the rural area is concerned, they can use the economy of scale and send their recyclables to the massive recycling plants that can be built in cities and generate jobs exactly where we need them. Okay, after that we need waste reduction initiatives. They said, our friend from the council said, I can't see this happening overnight. However, in Ireland, which is not perceived as being particularly environmentally conscious, in Ireland, they put a 15-cent tax on plastic shopping bags. And they reduced the use of these plastic shopping bags by 92% in 1 year. Not overnight, but in 1 year. Reuse, repair, and deconstruction. Economic incentives, such as the pay-by-bag system. You pay for your waste out of the tax system. The compostables are taken for free, the recyclables are taken for free, but the residuals, the residual fraction, the more you make, the more you pay. Polluter pays principle. It's working very effectively in some communities. Then we need a residual separation and research center with the aim of putting the pressure on industry for better industrial design. This is the one single thing that we haven't got on this board somewhere. We haven't got a research centre. We've got the residual separation facilities in Nova Scotia, and they're working effectively. But we need a research centre, and that's where the money should be going. If we're serious about sustainability, we want the brightest minds in our societies, our university professors and students, to grapple with this #1 problem. We may not have a civilization at the end of this century if we don't get a grip. Cost-effective and political steps in practice, we can gradually reduce our need of the landfill. I don't think we get to zero, but that's not the point. We should aim for zero. Yes. If you don't aim for something, you won't get it. If you do aim for it, you might get close to it. Okay. San Francisco has a population of 850,000. A very little space. They have to teach people in 3 languages. English, Spanish, and Chinese. 50% of the waste was diverted by 2000. 63% was diverted by 2004. 70% was diverted by 2008. 72% waste diverted by 2009. Their goal for 2010 is 75%. Their goal for 2020 is 100% or zero waste, or darn close. And they mean business. Over 30 communities are getting over, 30 cities in California are getting over 70%. Coventry, with your incinerator, you're getting a 75% reduction. For 4 tons of trash, you get 1 ton of ash. You may not see the ash, but you get in the ash. San Francisco is getting 72%. Now, there's a slight difference in approach here. This is a composting facility, low-tech. Recycling facility, low-tech. Here's this massive, costly, expensive incinerator that's producing practically no jobs. This one's going in a sustainable direction, and this one is a complete dead end. So we can anticipate getting to 70, possibly 80% reduction, diversion from landfills with community responsibility, source separation, etc. Then we need this residual separation research facility to drive better industrial design. So there's a split, 70 to 80 community responsibility, 20 to 30 industrial responsibility. Let's talk about the research facility. This is, everything here except the research center is operating in Nova Scotia. The residuals come in, the stuff that's always left over comes in. The bags are open, more recyclables are pulled out, more toxics are pulled out, and the dirty organic fraction is not touched because it's dirty, it's smelly, it's kitty litter, etc., but it is shredded and then goes to a second composting operation. You could use anaerobic digestion, but they don't. They use composting to stabilize it biologically so that when it goes into the landfill, it doesn't produce all that methane and the leachate. Now, what we need in there is a research center staffed by professors, students from our local university or technical colleges who are interested in sustainability. This becomes their laboratory. There are many things that they can do here, but what they are trying to do is to ape nature. Nature makes no waste. Why is it? What does nature do that we can't? And the answer is nature functions with feedback mechanisms. If I have if I'm making a substance in my body by a series of chemical steps, each step catalyzed by an enzyme, and suddenly I find I don't want to use this chemical F, you know what happens? Chemical F fits in like a hand into a glove, into an enzyme, and deactivates it. That is the first step of the process. So too much of F, and you switch off the first step, you stop producing F. That's a feedback mechanism. And that's what we need here, feedback mechanisms on the community and feedback mechanisms onto industry. We need our bright students designing anything that ends up, package or product, that ends up in a residual screening facility has to be redesigned. Or you've got to find a way in the community not to produce it.